We are led to participate and play a role in saving the Earth from pollution and damage that we do both consciously and unconsciously. This video may not appeal to some, but if you pay attention to it, you will get a point of view that equips you to accept the pressure to be better prepared. Without intending to scare, we are invited to understand natural phenomena and phenomena of human behavior. There are people who are wise and apathetic. Let's be wise to be able to adapt following this filtration process. Some people no longer focus on the virus issue because people are more concerned about economic revival for the sake of their survival. Restrictions on activities for more than 2 years are already quite burdensome mentally and financially. Not finished with that, we were treated to news of war conflicts in several countries. Some of those who have more money, they go looking for entertainment or go to tourist attractions after there is an easing. Plus, the pandemic is declared to be endemic, even though new viruses appear with other names, but they don't scare people anymore. However, did you know that the hidden negative impact of the virus on you and almost everyone in the world? From my previous video, I have reviewed with the title, A New Life After COVID-19, which explains that we must change. Here I want to share something important to know. After watching this video, you can look for sources of information to complete your knowledge about the threat from the COVID-19 virus or other viruses. And also, how to avoid these threats so that they don't happen to you and your loved ones. Without realizing it, post-COVID-19 mental illness is really happening in humans at this time. I am reviewing this for you and everyone to be aware of the importance of keeping up to date with new viruses, parasites, bacteria and diseases that will emerge soon. New virus variants continue to emerge and have been socialized in electronic media and various places. It was believed that after 2 years the virus would end, and it didn't. Viruses appear from various countries, mutate and spread to other regions. Even in some countries, viruses and bacteria have targeted herbivores with deadly diseases. Seven important things that we need to know that threats to human life, namely antimicrobial resistance and mental disorders, will become important issues that will change the world's ecosystems are. One. Threat of antimicrobial resistance. Viruses, bacteria, fungi, parasites undergo changes that are getting stronger and resistant to drugs, resulting in increased mortality rates, right? It is not impossible that the virus that will appear with various variants then mutates so that it can no longer be treated with drugs or has been vaccinated. New viruses appear not followed by updates to antibiotics that can cure. This is also feared by the World Health Organization, which has concluded there is a possibility it will happen. The World Health Organization since 2011, long before the pandemic appeared, stated that many countries would already be struggling with health resilience. In addition to food problems, and economic growth in a number of countries will decline. The handling of the program has not been completed. Then the COVID-19 pandemic has emerged in 2019. In addition to taking lives, a far more dangerous side effect is mental health problems. This mental disorder correlates the body with antimicrobial resistance. Where viruses, bacteria, parasites, fungi in the body no longer react or are resistant to receiving antibiotics or other drugs. It would be catastrophic when the virus mutated and allowed increased deaths. Here we can conclude the most dangerous threat in front of a virus that continues to mutate. It is also necessary to anticipate resistance to the virus, which cannot be cured with antibiotics or drugs. (1) Prevalence of mental health symptoms and mental disorders. Many people no longer want to hear about the COVID-19 virus and the virus that has come up under other names. For 2 years, everyone was talking about COVID-19, until people started to give up, tired, depressed, panicked, sensitive and emotional, out of control. Some people even refuse to hear the topic of viruses that keep popping up with different names or different variants attacking humans. The new style of mental disorder that we need to know has been suffered by the community from its behavior as fonda bullying, and there are victims as a result of being bullied. According to records from the World Health Organization, about 1 billion or about 12% of the world's population suffers from mental disorders. Meanwhile, 14% of the 12% of the number mentioned above are in the adolescent age group. Are you aware that bullying is a mental illness? Social media take part in providing bullying space. For example, news in the media that invites public reaction acts aggressively in interpreting the news, which is then followed by extreme understanding of one object. One. The prevalence of suicidal thoughts and behavior due to various economic pressures and loss of enthusiasm for life. It was recorded that in 2019, cases of suicide often occurred. Mostly due to stress and various other causes. According to records from the World Health Organization, suicide cases are dominated by productive age, namely those under 50 years of age. Of course, this is very concerning for all of us. People with mental disorders will die 10 to 20 years faster than the normal age of the world's population. This means that the normal age for humans to die from 70 years to around 50 to 60 years. People who are unable or unwilling to adapt usually start trying drugs. One. Drug users are already at a very worrying stage. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, drug users were already very worried and increased sharply after the pandemic. There is a tendency that many people who need drugs to calm their mental or lose their jobs turn to the drug business because the demand for drugs is increasing. According to the World Drug Report, until 2020 alone, 275 million people became drug addicts. Every year it is estimated that 11.8 million people die from drugs, including 11.4 million people who die from alcohol and cigarettes. One. Increased sexual diseases and sexual perversions. We often get cases of sexual harassment where the perpetrator of the harassment is also a victim of sexual harassment by other people in the past. Then there is a tendency, the perpetrators take it out by looking for other victims to be harassed. Cases of sexual abuse of minors and sexual deviations are clearly very dangerous. It is certain that sexual deviance leaves a burden on the victim, and the automatic transmission of the disease caused can damage the future of future generations. This issue seems to have not been taken seriously and continuously. If not immediately addressed, it is not impossible, like a snowball that cannot be controlled anymore. One. In many countries, there is no awareness or readiness of infrastructure and professionals serving mental health patients. This concern is quite reasonable because countries with low-income people can only be served about 12%. This is due to the unavailability of adequate hospitals to accommodate psychosis patients. Prior to the pandemic, the World Agency stated that 71% of people with psychosis worldwide did not receive mental health services. In developed and high-income countries, patients with psychosis receive 70% of professional services. Meanwhile, low-income countries only receive mental health services as much as 12%. This is really terrible. Maybe you, me and we all don't realize it, right? The role of the government is very important and immediately makes rules or policies so that access to mental health services gets priority. This is because the impact of the virus' catastrophic changes continues to erode the mentality of almost the entire community. Considering that these psychological services require high costs, apart from the government, it is also possible for the community to be asked to care. So that the poor will also have access to services. It is necessary to form a task force filled with volunteers from universities who have a background in psychology education. Because the service is social in nature, it should be supported by the government so that there is no charge to the service user community. The role of professional psychological intervention must understand and apply the care of affected patients according to the standards for handling the COVID-19 pandemic. This is necessary to prevent and/or reduce mental health problems. Almost all countries are experiencing an economic crisis, a health crisis, a food crisis, poverty and a mental crisis. We must be wise because we will live with viruses, parasites, bacteria, fungi and the environment of the mentally ill. The main thing to survive. 1. Increasing endurance is absolutely done by managing emotions as the best way to avoid mental damage. 2. Consciously or not, the anxiety and difficulties experienced must be accepted with a big soul because things that happen are beyond our control. 3. Pollution-free raw water is increasingly scarce. Having the awareness to actively participate in saving the earth from damage is a must. For example, by planting plants, maintaining a clean environment so that the development of viruses, parasites, bacteria, fungi can be controlled. 4. Creating happiness doesn't have to be expensive because of you. I just have to be wise in sorting out the positive and negative influences. 5. Sorting out healthy foods doesn't make you depressed because everyone wants to live longer, right? 6. If you observe, there is a tendency and/or urge to filter for the sake of saving the earth. We must follow the process, not avoid it. We must care about the threat of the impact of COVID-19 and its derivatives that will continue to be around us. We must play a role together to deal with it by adapting, accepting and preventing it with a healthy and wise lifestyle. Anxiety and panic only damage your body's immunity. It is hoped that we will be able to manage and adopt a healthy lifestyle because at this time there is no time to lament, complain or be angry. I must be able to survive and be willing to change to adapt to the new order of life.